So when it comes to the Nintendo Switch, I never cover accessories on this channel, whether we're talking about cases for the Nintendo Switch, whether we're talking about controllers for the Nintendo Switch. I never cover accessories, but in today's video, I do want to cover a third-party controller on this channel because I think this controller is really special, and I think a lot of people are going to want to grab this controller specifically, so let's get down and get right to business. First of all, this third-party controller is going to be made by a company called PDP, and they're really known for making gaming accessories, and I can confess I have used PDP products in the past. They're right up there with Nyko if you ever use Nyko products. So PDP and then Nyko. So it's not like it's coming from some weird third-party Chinese manufacturer. It's PDP, and I think a lot of people know what PDP is. So it's great news. This controller is coming straight from PDP, so you can have confidence. This is pretty much going to be a pretty good controller when it comes to this controller. The reason I'm actually talking about this controller is because this controller specifically does have a lot of different functions that not even the main controllers from Nintendo have. Whether we're talking about the Joy-Con, whether we're talking about the Nintendo Switch Pro controller, this one actually has some stuff up its sleeve that even some other third-party controllers don't even have. Now the name of this controller is called the Face Off Deluxe Pro controller. So it is a pro style controller. It's not based off of the Joy-Cons, and they're not trying to make something that's going to be competing with the Joy-Cons. They're competing with Nintendo's official Pro controller. You guys know Nintendo's official Pro controller is around $70, and it's quite an expensive controller. I can admit it is a very good controller, but it is a very expensive controller at that. So this Face Off Deluxe controller, before I talk about the price, is not even available on the market yet. It is coming out in July, at least in here in the States. So if you want to pre-order this controller right now, you can go ahead and pre-order this controller at their official PDP website, or you can actually order this on Amazon right now. I'm not too sure about other retailers, but I know PDP officially and Amazon do have this up for pre-order, and like I said, this is coming out in July, so this controller is coming out right around the corner. Now this controller, this Face Off Deluxe controller, is going to run you $25 here in the United States, so keep that in mind. And here's an official picture of this Face Off controller made by PDP. You can see when it comes to this controller being $25, you do have to keep your expectations low, because looking at this picture specifically, you can see most likely this is not going to be as comfortable as the official Nintendo Pro controller. And then on top of everything, as you can see from the picture, it looks like this controller is going to be a wired option only. I'm not sure if they're going to have it in any other variants other than wired, but it looks like it is going to be wired, so keep that in mind. But like I said, keep your expectations low since this is going to be $25. Now let's actually talk about some of the features this controller actually has, which a lot of other controllers don't even have, not even Nintendo's official Pro controller. Now the coolest thing about this controller, and why I'm actually recommending this controller, and I'm so excited about this controller for a pretty good Pro controller for the Nintendo Switch, is the fact that this controller is going to have a headset jack on it, or a headphone jack on it, so you can plug in headphones directly to the controller, kind of like you can do with the PlayStation DualShock, or kind of what you can do with the Xbox One controller. So that's absolutely fantastic. Now of course, Nintendo's not going to allow every single game to use the headphone jack when it comes to communicating with your friends. Of course, you still are going to be locked to the application on your smartphone, unfortunately, but the nice thing is there is some games on the Nintendo Switch right now that do support native voice chat, so that's going to be very exciting stuff. Like Fortnite, for instance, does support native voice chat on the Nintendo Switch, so you just plug in your headphones and you're good to go. But another reason the headphone jack on this device, or this controller, is so cool is the fact that you can use it for portable audio or private listening when it comes to the Nintendo Switch. So maybe you're a user that uses the Nintendo Switch in dock mode specifically, and you play on a monitor or a TV all the time, and you don't want to bother anyone around you. You can actually plug in your headphones directly to this, and it did strictly say you will be able to control the audio of your Nintendo Switch on the fly, so that's great news. Fun fact, if you are a person that uses your Nintendo Switch on the TV or on a monitor, you can actually get audio directly from the Nintendo Switch, even if the Nintendo Switch is in the dock. You do have to use a wired option, unfortunately, but if you just plug your headphones right into the Nintendo Switch when it's in the dock, you will get audio. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. I just wanted to point that out really quickly. But anyway, going back to this controller specifically. That's one thing it does have up its sleeve compared to a lot of other third-party options or even Nintendo's own Pro controller. So that's what it has going for it, which is really, really cool. How useful is it going to be when it comes to the Nintendo Switch? It just depends on your needs and depends on what you do with the Nintendo Switch. Of course, this controller is really going to appeal to more people who really play in the dock and really play on the TV specifically. If you play in handheld mode, of course, or even in tabletop, for instance, this may not be too useful for you. But let's talk about two other features this controller has. This controller does have some type of customization when it comes to faceplates. Who knows how many faceplates or how much customization PDP is actually going to make for this controller specifically, but just to have options to customize this controller, which PDP already confirmed is going to be a nice option. So that's something else it's going for. But another feature that is going to be really nice for this controller is the fact that you will have 2 extra buttons on it on the back, just like an Xbox One Elite controller. If you ever used an Xbox One Elite controller, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It has extra buttons. Or if you ever bought one of those SCUF controllers, because I know SCUF controllers are really popular with a lot of people who want to customize their control layout and have extra buttons to do a lot of different things. It is confirmed that those buttons are going to be customizable, and you will be getting 2 extra buttons on the back. So that's very cool that it's going to be customizable when it comes to customizing this thing, when it comes to 2 extra buttons, when it also comes to actually having a headphone jack on it. So overall, for $25, this really does seem like it's going to be a very good option if you're thinking about getting a Nintendo Switch Pro style controller, or maybe you're looking for a second option when it comes to the Nintendo Switch specifically, because I know a lot of people want to buy a second Nintendo Switch Pro controller and they really don't want to spend another $70 for the official controller, where they can buy things in the $20 range, $30 range, $40 range, and I think for the price you're getting a lot of bang for your buck here, and I think it's a very good option. But I wanted to talk about something else really quickly regarding this controller. Unfortunately, I did not see all the specs for this controller, so I'm not 100% sure what other stuff this controller actually has to offer, because if you ever use a Nintendo Switch Pro controller, you guys know it does have Amiibo support, it does have gyro controls, and then it does have HD Rumble, and a lot of times with these third-party options, a lot of them do have to make some type of sacrifices when it comes to the price. And if this thing is $25, most likely I would assume they would have to cut something off of the actual controller, whether we're talking about Amiibo support, whether we're talking about gyro controls, or whether we're talking about HD Rumble. They may have to sacrifice something there. I'm not 100% sure about that, so I can't tell you specifically. And of course, it will depend on your needs. How much do you use those extra features? Like for instance, do you use Amiibos all the time? If you use Amiibos all the time, you may want to check if it has NFC support so you can use your Amiibos. If you play games that do use the gyroscope a lot, you may want to check in to see if this controller does have gyroscope. But honestly, in my personal opinion, if you were to buy this controller, even if it was missing some features that the Pro controller from Nintendo does have, I would still say this is a very great deal, taking in consideration this controller specifically is going to be a $25 controller. Keep that price point in mind, and on top of that, like I said, you are getting some good, cool customization. This will be coming in a couple of different colors I did not even mention when you pre-order this option. And then you do have the 2 buttons on the back for more buttons on the controller that not even the Nintendo Switch Pro controller actually has. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, this controller is called the Face Off Deluxe Controller by PDP. It's coming out here in the States. It's coming out in July. You can pre-order this at Amazon and PDP's official website. Anyway, guys, this is Wayne from MyTech News, signing out.